So, my name is Steve Golding, and I work for Empire State Development. Our offices are located in downtown Rochester, Harrow East Building. And I work for the Finger Lakes region. The state of New York is divided into 10 regions, and each region has its own Empire State Development office. And our director, many of you may know him as Vinny Esposito. And so we serve the 9-county region. Our area obviously is in the green there. Our counties include Genesee, Livingston, Monroe, Ontario, Orleans, Seneca County, Wayne, Wyoming, and Wade. So we have a big area. We service a lot of businesses within that area. And about 60% of the population actually lives in Monroe County, but we're out in Yates and Genesee and Wyoming County a lot, working with businesses out there. So I'm going to talk about basically our main programs that are listed up there. I really focus on just a couple up here that we really use. They're our bread and butter programs. So I'm going to start with our open enrollment grant program. Quickly talk about our Upstate Revitalization Initiative, our Excelsior Jobs program, our JDA, which is another organization under under New York State, and then also our Link Deposit program, and then finally the Regional Economic Development Council program. So our first program I'm talking about is, and again, this is our open enrollment program. This is available all year. It's a grant program. We typically use this for capital projects. It's very heavy on job creation, large capital investments. This fund right here, we actually don't use that much. It's very hard to access for us as project managers just because there's only $30 million allocated across the entire state for this program. Which you look at New York State, the size of projects that happen, it's not a lot of money. But we do use the program. There are projects sometimes that require grants along with our Excelsior to make the project work, for a company to come here, a company to grow. So we do access this program. You know, with any of our grant programs, they do come with a lot of requirements. One of them, misconception is that we provide a grant up front. All our grants are provided on a reimbursement basis. So typically when we disperse a grant for a project, the first 50% of the grant is dispersed on making the full investment into the project. So once you make the full investment, we'll disperse 50% of the grant. And then we disperse 2 more times, 25% each of the grant upon meeting your job requirements. So it's never up front. A lot of people come in, they get frustrated with that. Also, our grant program, it's a good program. I know I can tell you a lot of negatives about it, but we do have fees and clawbacks with it, and then there's also an MWB requirement. Typically 30% of our grant amount has to go towards a MWBE, either contractor or supplier to the project. One thing you probably heard a lot about in the news was our Upstate Revitalization Initiative. We were awarded several years ago $500 million as part of the governor's plan to help upstate. And this is really done through our regional councils. They came up with a whole plan, an application. They came up with this whole pillars of really the businesses that we're focusing on, the type of industries, and the real priorities for the region. We're very successful with this program. Unfortunately, we're basically almost all committed to this program now. I think $497 million of it is committed. A lot of that went to the photonics, almost half of it, $50 million to the Rockland Riverway, a lot of other projects. But we did fund about 47 projects through this process. American Packaging, the Strong Museum, we put money to help build their garage there, which also helped them with their ability to expand the museum. There's a museum, there's an apartment complex going there, retail, restaurant, and also a hotel that's going in there. So our ability to provide money to them on a grant basis to help build that garage, freed up space for the rest of the development of that site. And we also helped Dado, just mentioned that. A lot of our money went to that project. Dado's a great project. They have exceeded their job requirement. We gave them a $2.1 million URI grant. They've now created 350 jobs, and now they're going to probably create another 125 more, which is far and above what they originally were going to do, which I think was about 150 jobs on top of what they had there. So we're doing very well with them. The Paychecks and American Patching, all of the projects that we assisted with the URI. Our Excelsior Jobs program, now this is really the bread and butter of ESD. Everybody hears tax credits, they're like, I don't want tax credits, I want a grant. But The good thing about the Excelsior Jobs program is that it is a refundable tax credit to the company. It's provided over a 10-year period. So when we get an award for a company, say we get $1 million award, they create all the jobs off, they have to create, say, 100 jobs. They create 100 jobs in year one. They're going to get $100,000 each year in a refund from the state. So what happens is the state they'll each year follow a schedule, they'll create their jobs, maintain those jobs, and each year they just send in simple paperwork, an Excel workbook with some backup New York 45 information that goes into our Excelsior team. They review it, and then they send a certificate each year to the company, usually around January or so. Company does their taxes, goes in with that, they get a refund. For manufacturers, it's a great program because as a manufacturer, really have zero tax liability in New York State. So any tax credits you're getting really comes back to the company in the form of cash. For new companies, this is great because you also take advantage of the investment tax credit within here. There's just several different tax credits within the Excelsior Jobs program that you can take advantage of. In addition to this, if you're an existing company here, we can put all of our tax credits on the jobs line. You can then also take advantage of the investment tax credit within the Excelsior Jobs program, which is refundable. If you're new, what I meant is you're a new company to the state, you can also take advantage of the Excelsior program. There's also an as-of-right tax credit that's refundable to new companies coming to the state through our tax and finance office. So to enter this program for manufacturer, for most of the types of industries, you have to create 5 jobs to get into it. Once you create 5 jobs, you're eligible for the program. Depending on how many jobs you create and the salaries of those jobs depends on really the level of incentive we'll be able to get you. So, for manufacturers, only 5. For agriculture and other types of like software development, it's only 5 jobs. Some of the other jobs don't maybe not have as big of an impact on the regions, such as back office or distribution. We try to create 50 for distribution and 25 jobs for back office to qualify for the program. The reason is that just because they feel that some of the jobs just have a less impact or less paying, so they really want to focus on these new jobs coming in that are going to be paying well and really focusing on the manufacturing base for the region. So our JDA, this program is administered, our JDA loan program is administered by the New York State Job Development Authority, and they do a great job. It almost works like the SBA 504. We'll provide 40%, or JDA will basically provide 40% of the financing for the project. The bank does 50%, and then the developer or the project awardee does 10% cash equity. Low interest, depending on what type of loan you're looking at. There's different terms for equipment, for real estate. So that's also a great project, a great program to take advantage of from the state. Our linked deposit program is great for small businesses. What this does is this is administered through JDA, but the application process really is taken care of with the bank and the customer. So what this program does for a company is that you go borrow money from your bank, assuming they're a member of the linked deposit program, which it's a good size list. It's available on our website of all the banks that are listed in the program. So what happens is you're going to borrow money from the bank for your business. The state will go ahead and make a cash deposit in the bank and leave it in there for a term of whatever your loan is from the bank, and in return, the bank will write down interest rate. So that's a good program to help write down interest rates, make the cost of borrowing money less for you and your business. That's a great program. Again, it's a really simple program, so the bank really does the application for you for that project. So the regional council program, if you're looking for a grant, this is really the vehicle you got to look at for getting a grant, especially for smaller businesses or businesses where you have to do a lot of job creation, maybe you're buying new equipment. The regional council, we went through 9 rounds of this already. This was introduced when Governor Cuomo came in, really to give the community say in how the money's spent. Okay, so now each community puts in an application, each region I should say, puts an application in to the state, and then after that happens, they make an award every year, and based on the application is how the community decides how the money's going to be spent within the community, in the region. So over the nine previous awards, we've gotten over $721 million for 950 projects. We're now entering round 10. The only issue with this program for some businesses is that it's a closed application process. So what happens is the application process opens up in May. It then closes usually around the end of July, And then at that point, ESD does their work to evaluate all the projects, and then the awards are made in December. The problem is with this program is that you can't move ahead with the project, decide to move ahead with the project until the awards are made. So that there's a lag time in there between July when the application is submitted and the announcement comes in December, and some businesses just can't wait for that. And that's why we use our other grant program. But that's an excellent program. We help a lot of businesses that aren't creating jobs but are trying to retain employees here. They need help with new equipment, upgrade stuff. And so we really encourage any business to really apply through this process. I'd be happy to talk about that with them. We have workshops and everything that could be helpful during the course when we're rolling up to the application process. So all the state money for grants and loans and assistance really comes out of the Regional Economic Development Council program. So all the different agencies, Homes and Community Renewal, Department of Environmental Conservation, all those different departments, Department of Labor, Department of State, a lot of the programs are rolled out here during that application process. So again, I'm sure you've heard a lot about the Regional Economic Development Council, but it's something to keep your eye open again when we start our regional council meetings later in the spring. There's other programs through our partners that we also work with in terms of like Startup New York. It's great for newer companies. You have to be affiliated with a college or university. It's good for a company because it basically allows the company to operate tax-free in New York State. Another benefit for that is that the employees don't pay new employees that are hired by the company in a startup location don't pay New York State taxes.
Which one is this again?
That's Startup New York. So you have to be affiliated with a college, university. You got to work through them to go on one of their approved startup locations.
Okay.
And there's a lot of information on the website for that. Grow New York was basically a program out of Cornell that's funded by 3 regions through our URA funding, through the Finger Lakes, obviously, through the Southern Tier, and through Central New York. We had a couple businesses approved for some grants out of that program, some startups here in the Finger Lakes region, which are great companies. So that's something to keep in mind when they're ready to come out with another cohort. Luminate, we provide the funding for Luminate for their Luminate competition. They're in their 3rd cohort now. They have 2 more funded rounds to go. And so that's another benefit that maybe a startup company would be looking at. It fits within their criteria. And finally, the Excel Finger Lakes Forward Venture Capital Fund. We provided $20 million of URI funding for that. Provides early seed and seed capital to startups. A wide array of startups, so they focus on really high tech and life sciences. That's also another program that through Excel Partners that if you're looking for seed capital is a good source of funding. So then we work with our economic development partners through JDA and other sources. We provide funding to these organizations. These are not administered directly by Empire State Development, but we do provide funding for them. So like their Regional Revolving Loan Trust Fund, they provide loans up to $100,000, loan interest loans. That's administered for those 3 organizations there in the Finger Lakes region. The Minority Women Revolving Loan Fund, you don't have to be a certified minority business to take advantage of this program. That's also administered by those 3, Ibero, Excelsior, Growth Fund, and True Fund Financial Services here. They provide loans up to $35,000 to $50,000 for small businesses. And then our Entrepreneurial Assistance Program, and really what that does is it provides mentoring, classroom, one-on-one type of peer support, all kinds of different support for small businesses. And then finally, there is the NewYorkFirst.ny.gov website. That provides a great amount of information for new businesses, small businesses starting up in New York State. It's got an exhaustive list of resources and contacts and everything there. So I would suggest if you're a small business, take a look at that. That concludes my main presentation. And then I have a handout. It's our Workforce Development Initiative. I didn't get into my presentation because I didn't get sent to me until too late. But this is administered through our Department of Labor. And Joe Ham is basically the director of the Department of Labor here in the Finger Lakes region. And what the Workforce Development Initiative does, it provides grants, it provides refundable tax credits to train existing employees to upgrade their skill levels. also to new business coming in to help train individuals. And aside from this program, which is a good program, please take a copy of this. There's also Johan's contact information in the back. He's really looking forward to helping some business with this. This came on board just last year, so we're getting up to speed on that. Finally, we do work with all our colleges and universities closely, especially MCC in training, putting together training programs with them, specifically for the business. I know the county is very involved in that. So that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions later on.
Yeah, we'll have full Q&A at the end. Thank you, Steve.
My card's back there also. Sorry.
Going to bring up now Thad Schofield, Director of Business Development for the City of Rochester. With his presentation.
Morning.
Thad, can you stand like on a corner or just behind the
Sure.
table?
Sure, absolutely. See our presentation, but I don't really need one. I think I can just talk. Probably better off if I speak. Okay. So yes, my name is Thad Schofield. I'm from the City of Rochester, the Director of Business Development. I wanted to start out by saying that, every project that grows in the city, that creates jobs, our incentives are based in the city itself. So you have to be located in the city to utilize our programs. And secondly, I wanted to say that, we have wonderful partners. Every project that we work with, it's our goal to include our partners. Joe Rizzo from rg&e, Steve Golding from the state, the county is here. But we're all one team, even though we're 4 separate areas, we all work together to be able to help you grow and to create jobs and to make it as easy as possible and efficient. I know there's always the thought that there's a lot of red tape with governmental agencies. We do everything we can, we do our best to try to decrease that red tape. We know you're busy, we know you have very busy lives operating your businesses, and we want to make sure everything is done that can make it as easy as possible for you. So collectively, if someone gave me a call, or a wonderful member of our team, Erica Hernandez is here as well. If someone gave Erica or myself a call, we would get everybody together at once. We would get rg&e with Joe and Kyle, we'd get Steve, we'd get the county. We'd collectively meet at once. So this way, it would save you a lot of time instead of going to 4 different places and explaining your project and your development and your business 4 different times. And in the city itself, though, we have a zoning department, we have a permit department. What we do is try to have a one-stop shop where you meet with us, and then we'll meet with all the other collective departments. So again, that's our goal, to make things easy and really help lower your cost of doing business in the city, and to be as efficient and effective as possible.
You just hit the space bar to go forward.
Oh, okay, thank you. So there's three main goals that we have. Job creation, retention, and total investment. So basically, all of our programs are based on the number of jobs created, the number of jobs retained, and the total investment of your project. The total investment means basically what you're putting into the community to grow, because your investment then turns into other people's growth in the city. So we look at those 3 areas with a high priority on job creation. That's all of our programs have a certain amount of jobs that need to be created. Steve had a chart that was really good that talked about how many jobs in each industry. We really look at it as a project by project basis, because your business impacts the city so well. We want to make sure that our programs are geared towards what will help you the most. Some of the services that we have: financial assistance. We have low interest loans, anywhere between 1 to 3% interest rates. If you go to a traditional bank, you may pay 5, 7, or more. By our low interest loans, you're able to save money for your business and grow. Our goal is to see you keep cash in your business so that you can handle those daily operating expenses, and that you can really create those jobs and grow in the community and be successful.
Your presentation kept rolling.
Everybody would hope I was that fast, right?
That's a quick presentation.
Yeah, we'll see that. That's our goal. Thanks, Joe.
Efficiency, right?
Yes, see, I'm always fast.
There you go.
Access to capital. It's still,
Yeah, something like that.
that's all right, that's all right, no worries. I've been here 23 years, I'll be able to talk all day, I won't do that to you, but, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna, it's still rolling.
Maybe just try the arrow key, the other one just keeps moving it through.
Yeah. So access to capital, so we do have low interest loans, we have grants, renovation matching grants that can help with different renovations, working capital, equipment. I always tell our team and people that we meet with, it's like putting a puzzle together. Once we know what you need, what your project is, we'll have those resources for, I'm okay, I can just talk. That's all right.
Okay, I'll get you back up to speed.
We can use those resources that'll help you the best, not just direct you to a website or say, this is what we have. We want to learn what's important to you and what you have to do. If you said, Dad, we have to buy $100,000 of equipment, we have $10,000 of working capital that we need, we have to make $50,000 of renovations, we have those programs that can help you and that can lower your costs of doing business in the city. If we are unable to provide assistance, which generally we can, or if there's a gap in financing, we can connect you with other resources through banking institutions, through the SBA 7A program or Pathstone. So collectively, we can make your business a success. Technical assistance, we can help with different spaces that you're looking for. You said, Thad or Erica, we're looking for 5,000 square feet in the city. If you really want to be in the city, what can you help us with? We have an inventory of different spaces that we can help you with. That's free of charge. You want to have a real estate broker to help you. And again, we have technical assistance that can help with a one-stop shop, whether it's permits, zoning, approvals, business development, all together. So just to talk about our programs in a little bit more detail, again, our loans are anywhere between 1% to 3% interest rates. Equipment is generally a 5-year term, or working capital is a 5-year term, real estate can go to a 10-year. We also have an SBA 504 program. Has anybody heard of the SBA 504? It's generally for real estate acquisition or capital asset acquisition with buildings or large pieces of equipment. There's 3 beautiful points with that program, or 3 main points. 20-year terms can help keep your debt service low, especially when you're looking to grow, when you make these capital expenditures, you want to make sure it's as easy as possible. So you have a low debt service over 20 years. The bank will cover 50% of the total, or they'll take 90% of the whole cost. And then when we close, the bank will retain 50%. The SBA that we represent will have 40% at a lower interest rate, so you save money on your interest. And then the equity, you'd only have to put in 10% equity as opposed to 20 or 25 with some banks. So again, you get to keep cash in your business to grow, so you won't have to, dispose of your cash, and then you could put you in a tight spot. So that program, our grants, it depends on the job creation. If there's a maximum amount of job creation, or if someone said that we're going to create 20 new jobs in 3 years, we're going to bring 10 new jobs to the city, it's pretty respectable. So we can usually do more with our loans or more with our grants through your growth, and we can help even more and help reduce those costs. Redco is another organization that we have. I was a secretary of Redco for about 8 years or so. That's another organization that also has a pot of funds, whether they're also low interest loans, they also have grants. We have a Phil J. Banks grant, which is a wonderful person, Joe's team, Kyle Banks, his dad, we named it after him. He was our deputy commissioner for many years. It's a grant that can also help with working capital and can help with renovations or equipment, and it's very helpful. So together we can combine our resources along with the county and rg&e and the state, and we can collectively have a package that can make it very cost effective for you. We want to see you succeed everywhere. I know everybody's not going to be in the city. We're hopeful that you succeed, whether it's in the city or the county and in a larger part of your state. But our goal is to see more jobs grow in the city, because then the other businesses located around you will benefit. We'll have increased jobs, and when we have increased jobs, those individuals spend more money in the city to help our other businesses grow. So, we look at many factors, but we're here to help, and we're here to help you grow, and we're here to see that those jobs that we do everything possible to help you create jobs. and also retain jobs, which is also important sometimes. It's not all about creating jobs. So, you know, collectively, we have a winning team, and I think, I know you enjoyed my PowerPoint. It's perfect. It's probably the best presentation I had. But collectively, we're a winning team with rg&e, the county, and the state, and us. You know, we'll do everything possible to help you grow and succeed. And I think I'll pass it over to Joe Rizzo, and we'll answer questions at the end.
All right, thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you.
Going to bring up now Joe Rizzo, Manager of Economic Development for rg&e and NYSEG.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You've heard a lot of different programs already and so forth, and I wanted to mention is that, you know, before I get into my presentation, we work, as Thad was saying and Steve was saying, we work in very strong partnerships with local, regional, and state officials, and it's really all about partnerships. You know, we have a lot of incentives and so forth, but as we do business locally, regionally, the state level, and trying to attract business, the relationships are so critical in terms of trusting to do business with, you know, with our community. I do have in the back Dustin Broderick from Franklin Energy. Actually, Dustin's right up front here, and I'm going to have Dustin talk a little bit about energy efficiency in a minute, so I wanted to introduce Dustin. So, kind of getting started here, we'll try this and see. We'll see if that, yeah, we'll see if this works here. There we go. So we'll see if it keeps rolling. But, so what I want to talk about today is a little bit about the role of economic development from our companies, a little bit about the activity across New York where rg&e and NYSEG, and rg&e is surrounded the city of Rochester and 9 counties, and then NYSEG is really spread out across New York. We go as far around Buffalo, Lancaster, then we go down toward the Pennsylvania border, Binghamton, down in Elmira area, and then up to the Adirondacks and back down the Hudson Valley. So we're spread out across more than 40% of the state in terms of utility businesses, just NYSEG alone. We'll talk about our existing economic development programs and then how to apply. It's a simple pre-application process for you. And then we'll talk about some things we're doing to enhance our programs before the Public Service Commission to expand economic development, our portfolio. And then I want to talk a little bit about site selection and what that means in terms of bringing businesses to New York. And then we'll provide some points of contact and so forth. So we'll get started, and I also wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Spot Forward for having all of us today. So in terms of the role of economic development from the company, we really look at, as Steve was saying and Thad was saying, in terms of the job retention, creation of growth, existing businesses. We really look a lot about capital investment. And then it's really a key partnership and collaboration with local, regional, and state officials, and we're always continuing that pipeline of opportunities. We have a lot of projects that are going on, you know, across the state for this year, but we're always filling a pipeline for future project opportunities. And then the other thing is we really look at a lot of the different business sectors in terms of IT and manufacturing and agriculture, but our programs we broaden. We had traditionally more about manufacturing, but it's been much broadened in terms of agriculture, IT, and a whole number of different business sectors that we can help support with our programs. Just to give you a little bit of the activity that we've had across the state since 2010, we're really closing in on about $100 million in economic development assistance across the state to help support over 600, actually now over 600 projects, $5 billion in investment. And we also had some programs that we put in place in about 30 days a while back for some hurricanes that came through New York, a tropical storm Lee, I don't know if you recall, but we had some major storms that down in the southern tier, we had to put some programs together to help with grant support. So that was something we had to put together in about 30 days and put that into place to help those communities there. We have now going on every 2 weeks we go through this with our team, and it's very painful to go through about 500 projects that we have going on across the state for economic development, and we have many in the pipeline. I wanted to mention some things down in terms of some of the wins and public announcements that we've had that have involved folks here in this room and then across the state, but just some examples of project wins. We talk about business attraction as Corning is an example down in Chemung County. that we competed with a project actually in China to invest down in the southern tier in Corning. The university expansion, the Dick's Sporting Goods is a distribution center that we competed, and that actually is serving probably 200 to 300 retail stores in New York. And Crown Holdings and Tioga Coatings, a bottling plant, we competed with Pennsylvania. And then on the rg&e side, in this local community, Bausch & Lomb is expanding in Goodman Street, and we work with city, state officials where we competed with Ireland and Asia. And actually, what it ended up is that Ireland is building a duplicate facility, and they're building a duplicate facility in Rochester. So it was a win-win for both areas, but we competed with a package that helped them make a decision to invest in this community. A very, very big project, jobs, investment, technology, et cetera, et cetera. Another project in Ontario County, and then I was alluding to, Steve I think you had a slide that talked about American Packaging. That is building in, actually not too far from where I live in Chilai, and we competed with the Midwest for that business. And Optimax System expanding in Monroe County. So just to give you some example of some of the projects, these are the ones that have had public announcements in terms of press releases. So a lot of activity in terms of high level of what's happening not only locally but across the state. Here are a number, there's a lot more on our website, but I want to just talk about, at a high level, you've heard a lot from Thad and Steve. There's a whole number of programs that we have. We're not expecting you to leave and understanding all of them, but just to give you a high level of the things that are out there that are available. When you do have a project, please come to us and we can kind of listen to what your needs are and then provide and customize some packages that would work best for your business opportunities. The first one, we have hundreds of these projects going on, but we have infrastructure grant assistance that could help to offset electric infrastructure for projects if they meet certain requirements. And if you say, well, what do you mean, Joe, about what that is? It's that we can help things like bus work or conduits and wire and transformers and things to help that the utility may need to have to spend to bring power to a site, or what the customer has to do inside their building with wiring and so forth. So we don't fund like the lighting or HVAC, et cetera, with these programs, but it's purely the infrastructure and the reimbursable type grants. And we can get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars to help with that particular program. The other one here for agriculture, we also have a small ag program that can help businesses. It used to be just simply for farms, where they meet certain requirements for incremental load and new technologies, but we broaden that to help with the craft beverage industry, wineries, distilleries, so we can help a broader menu in terms of the ag industry under that program. And third, our programs can supplement programs that the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority have in terms of energy efficiency for studies and implementation of measures. And then also, we can also supplement our own program offerings that we have from the company that's through Franklin Energy. So I'm going to ask Dustin to kind of talk a little bit about the programs here from Franklin Energy that we work with very closely. So Dustin?
Thanks, Joe. And thanks, Joe, for letting me hijack part of this presentation.
Go for it.
Slides.
Go for it.
I just have a Excel sheet, which is in the back if you want to grab it. So we are Franklin Energy. We're contracted by rg&e to implement the commercial industrial rebate programs. To Joe's point before, they don't incentivize the end-use products like lighting and HVAC. That's where we come in. So if Joe's providing economic development funds towards the infrastructure, these rebate programs will help you cover the cost of the actual products installed, whether you're upgrading to lighting, LED lighting, if you're doing HVAC upgrades like these split systems, any building envelope upgrades like insulation or windows, and it's commercial and industrial. So once you get to the industrial side, it's more complex. We can do compressed air, all the manufacturing processes, etc. Basically anything that uses energy, we will incentivize you to go to the more efficient option. We can cover up to 50% of the project cost, and we have a long list of eligible rebates. Again, this piece of paper is back there on the table if you want to grab it on your way out. But we cover a wide array of end-use products, and we also have a custom path if it isn't listed here. So we can really incentivize most anything you do as far as upgrading a facility, if you're moving into a new space and renovating it, or if it's a new build. So we do incentivize new construction. We are complementary to these programs. We can co-fund a lot. So you can have supplementary source of funding towards these projects that aren't necessarily exclusive from these other programs. And we work together to figure that out for you, so you don't have to worry about if we're stepping on anybody's toes, if there's double dipping. And we're vendor neutral, so you can feel free to use any contractor that you want, perform the work in-house, or we have a list of suggested contractors that are available for your use that are experienced in the program. Yes, ma'am?
Are they, available for nonprofits if it's, okay, got it.
Cover a wide array, so nonprofits, agriculture,
I
commercial.
support a few that might be able to leverage it.
I'm sorry?
I said I support a few that might be able to leverage it.
Okay. I think that covers it. I don't wanna steal too much of Joe's
Yeah, we'll have
thunder
some
here,
time for
so
questions afterwards.
appreciate it.
Thank you. So, yeah, so people ask, also they've asked the question, why do we have energy efficiency as part of our economic development portfolio? And the response is, we do that because we want energy efficient local growth. So we start to look at growing businesses, helping businesses expand, and we bring new business. And I wanted to point out is that we expanded the rg&e and NYSEG program offerings to offer for new construction. Before it was typically, right, just for kind of existing and rehab, and now it's for new construction too. So both opportunities where we're bringing new business into New York. Thank you. In terms of some of the other programs, in terms of outreach support, this is a program that's not directly for the end-use customer, but we have programs that can help organizations across New York, such as the IDA community, the business economic development organizations such as Greater Rochester Enterprise, that for the 9 counties here, Invest Buffalo Niagara, other organizations across New York that can help market their regions. So we have some program assistance under this outreach program that help market the region and ultimately bring more business into New York. We have a power quality reliability program for businesses, and as technology continues to grow and become more complex, there are certain tolerances in terms of equipment that sometimes they need to have more equipment and power conditioning equipment on the customer side. So we have some grant programs that can help with those kind of opportunities. Another program, revitalization program for commercial corridors and Main Street development. This is something that we've had in place for the past couple of years in terms of helping, and we have a lot of examples of Main Street where we can help with, we provided some funding assistance working, we have many in play for the city and Rock the Riverway, but also for Main Street and helping to, this is a program that we can help to offset lighting, facade lighting, to help distress like business corridors, so we can help offset the lighting and the infrastructure. So we work with developers, we work with the City of Rochester, we have a number of projects in the downtown area as well. And that program is really growing in terms of revitalization. It actually was a program, we combined a couple of programs from National Grid into one. It's working out to be quite well. And we have many, many programs that are in play now for the Rock the Riverway that's going to utilize this commercial corridor program. The other program really talks about small to medium manufacturers. It's called our Manufacturing Accelerator Program. This is a program where we have NextCore, used to be High Tech Rochester, for the Rochester area that can help to pre-screen manufacturers to help in the productivity, growth aspects. So this is an opportunity to help manufacturers be more competitive globally. That's taken off. We have hundreds of projects just in the Rochester region under this MAP program, and we have many that are across New York. So we're helping the manufacturing community to be more competitive. These aren't infrastructure programs, but they're more to look at productivity, new product development, a whole number of things to really help them be as competitive as they can be to compete globally. And the other program talks about the innovation zones. We have an innovation zone downtown around the inner loop. The anchor's kind of the NextCore at the Sibley Square building, but we can help startup companies in terms of looking at marketing plans, et cetera. And that's a program that's we have working with Jim Sinal and NextCore right now. And you'll also notice there's some asterisks under the business energy efficiency. There's one under next to the outreach, and there's one under the last bullet. And I'll talk a little bit about these because we're making some proposed modifications and enhancements to these programs that are before the Public Service Commission. This is quickly that we're giving you a lot of information in different programs, but if you think you may have an opportunity, you can send in a pre-application. There's no obligation, just a one-page simple form that would give us a sense if this might fit one of our programs. We would assign it to a project lead, whether it be in Rochester or across the state, and then they would work with our team here in Rochester to determine the next step, and then you would be assigned an actual project lead that would help you through the whole application process. As I mentioned before, I talked about the existing programs. Here's some things that we propose for modifications. And I mentioned these programs here in terms of business energy efficiency, outreach, innovation zone. We're proposing some new names to those programs that are before the Public Service Commission right now for review. There's been very positive feedback so far. There's a whole regulatory process for any changes to our programs, but we're proposing to change the first one and add renewable technologies to it. The other one's going to be more strategic outreach, and the third will be innovation and entrepreneurship. And then we're proposing a pilot, non-residential air source geothermal heat pump program. I'll talk a little bit about what that means. We've put some things out there for just 3 of our programs, and they were very strategic in nature. And to get to what enhancement we proposed to the commission involved a lot of face-to-face conference calls, city, state, and then below there are a broader example of NYSEG with the Greater Rochester Chamber, Empire State Development. All of these have been conversations and meetings before we propose these, or probably a year or 2 prior to putting these out there. So there aren't a lot of changes, but they're very strategic in terms of what we want to do to help build and grow New York. So these are just some of the examples of organizations. You can see that training and development, and NIATEP's been a very, very good partner, and Steve talked about that, about workforce training. We can do all the things we want in terms of site selection and all these other elements, and if you don't have the ability to train a workforce and talented workforce, the other stuff it won't matter. And workforce continues to be at the top. Quickly, in terms of business energy efficiency, we're proposing to broaden that in terms of renewable and clean technologies as the world changes and more renewables in New York. So we're looking, that's another enhancement. And then on these outreach program, we're looking to help the IDAs and the communities and economic development organizations look at some soft costs for early stage planning to get sites more market ready, because we have to compete globally, and site selectors have told us New York State needs to have more sites looking at all the pre-permitting and things, because it's all about time to market. So that's something we're doing, and we're also helping the economic development organizations across New York for marketing and helping them market and look at labor assessments. So we're broadening these programs to help fit the direction and where New York is going. Quickly, in terms of the innovation and entrepreneurship program, we're adding flexibility for these beyond just an innovation zone and district, but more regional opportunities on the NYSEG side to help move that program forward across New York for startups. And then this geothermal air source heat pump pilot program is to really look at supplemental assistance across New York for heat pump technology for space heating. And it's areas that may help, maybe areas more constrained by natural gas. As you know, New York policy is kind of changing and really moving toward the governor's direction, more toward renewables. And this has helped to work within that direction of New York policy. Couple of quick things, so we have some time for questions, but I wanted to mention in the site selection, in terms of projects that come through the state, could come through the IDA communities, it's very important that our company get good information so we can evaluate infrastructure capability for sites of interest. And this has to be done, and these are key information that we need from, whether it be a site selector or the state, whoever's the lead, for us to evaluate. You know, the incentives piece is the easier part. It's making sure all the infrastructure elements can fit for a site or sites, and it has to be done on a very urgent basis. It's all about time, for these businesses. And they're looking globally, sometimes within New York, sometimes out of New York State, sometimes, as I mentioned, Bausch and Lomb, globally, and you have to be on your game. The other piece gets into the site preparation, working with, Annette talked about the soft costs and so forth, but this is getting more sites more prepared, so when someone knocks on our door, we have shortened some of the timeline in terms of some of the pre-permitting and so forth to be able to effectively compete. So with that, here's some points of contact. My contact information, Kyle Banks handles a lot of the greater Rochester region, but also helps support. And then Dawn does a lot of our application process in Rochester. But the way we're organized, we have key account marketing folks across New York that'll deal with the businesses and support economic development. And then we have public affairs regional managers that'll work with the chambers, the IDAs, the community partners, and they'll also support the business attraction. We have kind of a two-tiered relationship across the state because we have hundreds going on. We probably have 2 to 3 dozen business attraction projects layered over the 500, so we're pretty busy. So thanks much. We'll kind of talk some questions and so forth, but appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Joe. We'll have our panelists take a seat up front for the Q&A portion.
There's my name tag. Not to be official.
All right, I'll go ahead and just get us started. Something that each one of you just address this quickly. Incentives and grants are only for big companies. We'll start with Steve.
No, we provide grants for startups, small companies. Perfect Granola is one great example. It's a startup, woman-owned business. She created her own granola, I guess, product, and it's all natural. So it's very healthy, and we gave her a regional council grant. We've helped numerous small businesses, so I wouldn't say that is the case, large or small. Simple answer. We'll help anybody. We just want to see jobs grow in New York.
Thank you. Yes, we're the same. We will help large companies, we'll help small companies. We're also trying to build the commercial corridors. In the city of Rochester, that's a huge emphasis for us. So if a company's creating 3 jobs or 300, we'll look at each one of them and we'll look at what resources can help them succeed the best. So yeah, we're interested in every business that's looking to grow. And our goal is not only to create the jobs, but to retain the jobs that are in the city. So, and if a new company's moving into the city, that's an extra added incentive for us to attract them. So we're interested in all businesses, large or small.
Joe, same question.
Yes, we have a variety of programs as I alluded to, and we also incorporated, there's certain levels of threshold and investment, and in fact, we have a couple of programs, these infrastructure programs. We have another tier to help smaller businesses in terms of meeting requirements of investment and load. Also alluded to on the agriculture side, we have a smaller ag program for micro distilleries and so forth. So there's energy efficiency and so forth. So there are large grants for larger businesses, but you also have some flexibility to help smaller businesses too. So that kind of pre-application, in terms of when you apply, we can kind of evaluate where a project opportunity may fit. And we'll circle back to look at some opportunities. We also have some flexibility on a building redevelopment program that doesn't have as tight requirements for load and investment, but we can kind of look at revitalizing existing buildings. So we do have some flexibility for the smaller and large businesses as well.
Let's open it up. Who's got the first question? Don't be shy. I know you're going to have one. Let me jump in. I wanted to ask Steve, tell us about the CFA process.
Sure. So One thing I should mention, I mean, with any ESD program, we can't provide assistance to retail, restaurant, or basically commercial services where the people are licensed. So that's one restriction of our programs. So the CFA process, we have a general CFA application that is used, year-round. It's just a longer application. We also have another application that when we're meeting directly with the company, is not part of the regional council process that we provide. It's called Project Information Worksheet, which is much shorter. But in regards to the regional council process, again, I said that opens up in early May, and that will, and it's basically an online application. You go to the RADC website, and you'll see, a link for you to click on the application, you register, you get a token, you complete the application. There's also lots of resources on there, webinars and all kinds of information in terms of the funding available for that current round. So once you get into that portal there's a lot of information available as you complete the application. And we're always available to work with any company or anybody that's looking at putting together an application for the regional council program. Questions? Yeah, right here.
I have a question. Morning, I'm Kel Osberg from Rochester Milling Corporation. We're out in Ogden, New York, 400 employees. We are bidding right now on $1 million piece of business for us. Could be 2 potential new jobs, but in order to get that, there would be a couple of capital projects that would need to take place. Once the award is given, if we are the winner, the timeline is going to be 3 months to manufacturing readiness, and then kind of a ramp up over the next 3 months. We get stuck in our company in terms of being able to react within that period of time to get any assistance for these, typically $40,000 to $60,000 to $80,000 worth of new capital equipment that needs to be brought on to either bring us up to new technology or to create some new capabilities within our company that we don't already have. So I'm just wondering, how do we get these awards and then be able to react within that time frame?
I'm going to start.
Go for it.
So, from the utility perspective, we would need to, if you're looking at adding more equipment or contemplating more equipment, we would need to have a conversation very quickly. So this is kind of pending right now, right?
Yes.
Have a conversation to get a better sense of what your incremental load requirements would be for the equipment.
Okay.
And we have a nice form we put together in the past 12 months, which is a 1-page form, because I don't know if you have a list of all the detailed equipment at this point. If you don't have that yet, at least at a high level, we can have our planning folks take a look at, do we have the infrastructure capability, we need to make some, say upgrade a transformer, et cetera, to understand that piece. And then based on what your investment is and so forth, we can determine what level of kind of grant assistance to help offset your electric infrastructure upgrades, or if we have to do some things outside. But if you're looking at this, you said 60, 90 days, that equipment could be coming in, you could be operating.
Correct.
We need to talk about it
Yes.
now.
Okay.
So we'll my contact information, and we'll get you connected with a person to kind of dig into that ASAP.
I think for any project, it's good to start as early as possible in the process, just so the more information that we have, then we can react and make sure that we serve you the
Yeah, I
best.
think some of the bigger projects that have been up on the board today, like that American Packaging, I live out in Charlotte as well, and I drive by that, and it's just an amazing facility that they put up out there. That was probably 5 years in the planning or something like that. And right now, our growth is much more, speed to market to be able to compete with, companies that are outside New York.
Are you mean construction services, basically, a construction company? Or?
No, Rochester Milling is a chemical blending company. We do food sanitation, water, energy products.
So for the state itself, in the Excelsior program, obviously you have to create 5 jobs to enter that program, and that's, but in terms of us getting approval, we can turn around approvals fairly quickly, even for grants, okay? So our process at the state of New York is every Thursday there's a committee that meets statewide via phone call. And each week if we have a project, we go on the agenda, we pitch our project to that committee. We typically hear within a week or 2 weeks whether you got approval. And then if it's just Excelsior, we can typically get a incentive proposal out to you for your project right within a week or 2. if we have to push it and expedite, we can do that. For grants, sometimes it takes a little longer to get through our loans and grants process, unfortunately. But still, we do it very quickly. So, we meet every week. We're constantly, every Thursday, pitching new projects to our committee. So, in our application process, if you're going for a grant under $250, there's no underwriting involved or anything. So it's fairly simple. There's no underwriting involved at all for Excelsior. So, Excelsior is just a great program because it's performance-based. We love it because you create the jobs, you get your tax credits, and, there's no clawbacks to you or anything. So there's really no risk to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Another question? Yes, right here.
Along the same lines, as an existing manufacturer here that's looking to grow, looking at acquisitions that could bring additional manufacturing into the area, at what point in that process would it make sense to reach out and have that conversation? When an acquisition the deal is done, or as we're looking at it and evaluating?
As you're looking at it, at the very beginning, once you know the details, what it's gonna involve, the estimated cost, how many projected jobs you feel might be created, jobs retained, as early as possible. And I always say at least be on our radar screen, and then we can help each other, but the more time the better, and then that'll give us more of an opportunity to help you.
The thing keep in mind, everyone, is that the programs that we have, the state, the city, and others, is that it's to incentivize you to make those investment decisions. So if you make those decisions and then call us, it constrains us to help. And so even on the energy efficiency side, and Dustin, and with our own programs, with our contacts at NYSEG, we always tell businesses, before you finalize the design, please contact us so we can have a conversation and document. Because if you go down the path and then it's done, our hands are tied because you've already made the business decision. So as early as possible, and for any of these programs, if we're even thinking about conceptually, to call us ahead of time, because it might take more time, for example, for infrastructure upgrades, and so depending on what's already out there. So the sooner, even conceptual, to call us and then have to start the conversation, then we can assess in terms of timing to be able to meet your needs.
Got time for maybe one more? Yeah, right here.
Just Steve Gertz, I'm a business attorney at Underberg Kessler. Thanks so much for a great information-packed program. Is it possible to get copies of the PowerPoint so that I can share it with folks back at my office?
Absolutely.
So how's the best way to do that?
You can contact our events team, they have the presentation, so we can take care of it through that.
Great.
Yes, right back here.
I have a service type business. We do fire and water restoration. We're in Gates, so we're not in the city, unfortunately. But I'm wondering if there's programs. I think I bought the wrong business because I don't have like manufacturing or IT or something. But we've grown from 6 to 34 employees, so I've created a lot of jobs. Are there resources for like service type businesses? I've made a lot of investments in vehicles and equipment. I'm doing that moving forward.
From the state standpoint, so when we're looking at a project, and the industry is important, but there are other industries out there that jobs are just as important to me as any other one. But so when we're evaluating a project, it always comes down to the one question: without state assistance, can you move ahead with the project? If we don't give you state assistance, are you looking at out of state location for your business? So a lot of times in service, they're kind of just looking at staying here. They're not looking at relocating anybody out into Pennsylvania or somewhere else like that. So that's one of the things we look at. For service companies like that, yeah, we do have grants available, and that's certainly something the regional council program we can look at. For the regional council, we only do capital projects, like you're buying equipment, you're doing building improvements. That's the vehicle I would say you would look at. Excelsior, unless you're creating 25 jobs back office, we're not going to be able to help you through that vehicle. So the regional council certainly could be something you can consider, and be happy to work with you on that. If you're looking at buying another piece of equipment, but you don't really have to do that until later in the year, December or January, then you could fit well within that program.
I think for this, I know you're not in the city, but if you were, or the county, I don't want to talk for the county, but a lot of times, as you said, we'll help every type of business and industry. industry, so will the county. It's all based upon the job creation and then knowing what the project is. So you said a few key things when you asked your question. You were looking to buy some equipment, or you did buy some equipment. It's always before you buy that equipment
Well, sure.
or renovations, and then it's based upon the job creation for both the city and the county. And I think, as well as Joe, knowing what the project is early on, and then we can see what resources might best help.
We do want to be respectful of your time. That's going to wrap up our program today. We want to thank Joe, Thad, and Steve for participating.